Hello, Ted.
Hiya.
There you go, Pat. So the recording started.
Right, okay, thank you. Right, okay, welcome everybody to our water scheme meeting. Hopefully this is going to be our last online one. So next one we'll be having hopefully a face-to-face one. So welcome everybody. Chair to advise that those participating listening online meeting that this will be recorded and may be made available for future record on the council's YouTube site. We'll go over to item 2, which is cleaner streets. So we'll get an update from Les Williams, who is our principal operation manager, and the latest initiatives for our ward. So I have mentioned a few things that we have got some new stuff coming in our ward, but I'll let Les tell you all about it. Over to you, Les.
I'll just unmute myself. Good evening, councillors. Good evening, all. Thanks for the invite once again. Just a bit of an update on where we are with street cleansing. Obviously, you will have hopefully seen in the mobile HRWC come round to where you live. If not, we will be coming shortly. We're doing lots around Sparkbrook, Balsall Heath. Some of the inner city wards are getting more than some of the other wards because we see there's a need there. It's been really positive. Local residents are sending no end of thanks for it because we're collecting lots of waste and recycling. We're moving into the next phases now. One of them is we've got an additional fridge crew and they'll be out picking up fridges. Where we might see some on the streets that have been there for a week or two, we're proactively looking to target them as quickly as we possibly can to get them off the streets. We're also got more graffiti crews out, so we've just taken, I'll say just like last year, delivery of some new graffiti vehicles. That now has took us up to 6 across the city, and we'll be taking some more on still further. That will give us 9, hopefully, in total, and they will be able to come at the drop of a hat or as quickly as we need them to the ward should we get any graffiti. We've also got some deep cleansing crews now. So what street cleansing do, we don't do it ourselves, we've got a partner that does it for us. They come around, they gauge our roads and tell us whether the roads are really clean or really dirty, and they grade them. And what we do from that, our worst roads that are identified, we are now sending crews out to give them areas or them roads a deep clean. So it probably might be helpful for you councillors if we start showing where them are and where it's going to affect you within your wards. But what we're seeing is we're having a real good clean up. Some of the roads that might be clean but really need a good sweep, they're getting a mechanical sweeper in them, etc., and it's showing dividends. It's working really well, and it's raising the overall cleanliness. We've also got another initiative called Love Your Streets, and again we will be coming to an area near you soon. So we're going to come to every ward at least once a year, but where we're going to identify on main roads like the Stratford Road maybe, where we got issues with sacks being put out or dumping, etc. We're going to do what we call a multi-agency approach. So there'll be ourselves, there'll be the police, there'll be the engineers, residents. We will tell you when we're coming out, and the good councillors if you want to come along, and we're going to go have a walk around and build some action plans in to deal with some of the got spots in the area. We have put something in place for the black sacks, Stratford Road, Ladypool Road, Moseley Road, where we're having at least 2, sometimes 3 times a week collection of the black sacks, and we're looking to increase that further. We've identified that lots of flats above the shops have got nowhere to store the waste, and obviously when their waste bins or bags are full, they put them out irrelevant of collection day. So we have noticed that, and what we're doing is looking where we can to give them residents wheel bins, but if we can't, we're looking to do a very regular collection of the sacks to take away that blight on our main thoroughfares into the city and out. Probably all aware we've got the Commonwealth Games coming in August, end of July, August, and we've had some short-time resource to come out and clean the main roads in and out of the city. So Belgrave Middleway, as an example, will have a really thorough deep clean, and that will go all the way up into and during the Commonwealth Games. So we're looking to clean up the areas there. And we've just had another bit of resource coming in, another bit of further resource, and that's looking like we're taking it into wards as a ward approach. So again, Councillor, we'll share maps with you shortly on what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it within your wards. Obviously, once you get their maps, if you want to make any comments, if you think we're missing something or so it needs a bit more, we welcome that feedback from your good selves as well. I think that's all it at the moment. I think but there's lots of exciting things happening in street cleansing. The dumping crews, as we said, is so I've just seen the comment there. Could we have the Commonwealth Games? Yes, I would if I could. The wards are getting cleaner. The one thing I didn't mention, sorry, was we've joined up with a partner called Keep Britain Tidy, who you may have heard of. They're in the press, etc., quite often. And what we're doing with the Keep Britain Tidy team is we're just taking it live as we speak. Where we're getting regular places where we got dumping and fly tipping, we're going to treat it like a crime scene. So you will start to see, like police tape, stripy tape put around the dumping and highlighting it's been dumped waste and it's on our radar. And it's out there as a reminder to people that are willing to dump that we're watching and we're looking to prosecute if we catch her. We'll probably leave that tape in place, that grime scene as we call it, in place for 2 to 3 days. Then we'll remove it. And once we've removed it, we got some washable paint. It's not permanent, but we're going to be spraying like stencil on the floor to show that waste was dumped here. And this is what it's costing the local community, where it could be spent elsewhere, etc. So you'll start seeing that being dotted around the regular grot spots or say dumping spots within the ward. So again, councillors, once we get that really live and running, we will be forwarding some pictures of the good, the bad and the ugly and the successes that we've got from it. I think that's all from me, if anybody's got any questions.
Chair, there's a few questions in the chat for Les. Some around graffiti and some around fly tipping. Les, if you can just have a look.
Yeah, if you just bear with me, I'll just move us back a bit. That was for D, graffiti, it is a problem. What we're seeing in Birmingham at the moment, and it's probably been in the press, there's one tagger, if that's the term to call them, seems to be across the whole of the city tagging. We are trying to catch that perpetrator because we want to have a quiet word with him, i.e. prosecute him. There is links to tagging, and again, our waste enforcement teams and that are carefully looking at if we can identify who does it, so we can bring them to justice, because it's no nonsense approach for graffiti. If we catch her, we will look to prosecute, and we're keeping a record of tags. So if a tag repeats itself across different wards or in different areas or in one area, if and when we catch that person, he will be dealt with, or she will be dealt with, for all the tags that they've put on street furniture, fences, garden walls, etc. Yes, I'd love to be able to work smarter. Again, lots of businesses, lots of properties now have Ring doorbells. If you see something, please alert us, because we are looking to investigate where we can, and to prosecute again where we can. And another one for yourself, the fly tipping in front of your business. We are, I might have mentioned at our last meeting, as a department, we've got a section now where the waste enforcement has come into our department, and it's doubled in size at the end of last year. We've just got them guys and girls trained, and they will be going out in the streets looking to engage and enforce people. We are still looking to go some further, and we're trying to identify some money to increase that team still further, with the view of dealing with this fly tipping and graffiti and dumping, etc. So all them plans are in place and we are just rolling that out. What comes with that team is CCTV. Obviously we're triaging that. So some areas get lots and lots and it's regular and often. We are going to them places firstly. And as we get through them, we will be sticking CCTV up in many areas across the city. So I'm just reading. I just touched on the CCTV. So BBS, it is citywide. The resources spread citywide, but what we've noticed, and if you took part in the mobile HRWC that comes out, some areas need it more than others and more frequently. And we're through our trials and through doing the initiative, we've identified that some of our wards, and I'll say Sparkbrook and Balsall Heath being one of them, are going to get more regular visits than some of the other wards across the city because the need is more there. But all of our exercises is citywide. But I will say things like the dumping crews. There's 4 crews initially came into the city. 3 of them were based at Redfern Road, which services your area, because Redfern service the central belt of Birmingham. So we've put the resource where it's more needed. So although it is across the city, we're balancing it on the need across the city, if that makes sense.
I've got a hand up, guys, so shall I just bring that hand in?
Yeah, I'd say Dee's typing, but if we go to questions where people want to ask a face-to-face question, happy for
Imran?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Hi, Leslie. Sparkbrook was one of 6 wards that was allocated with wardens and cameras. I mean, do we have a approximate time that we are going to be getting these, or we're not? I mean, we're still in that sense of we're getting them, but still nothing. So that's my first question. Like, when do you have a time span on when these were being implemented, when they'll be coming in? Second point is about the recycling centres. Great, it's a great initiative, but unfortunately you're plotting them at the same location in Sparkbrook. We've had 2 in Balsall Heath on the same road and 2 in Sparkbrook on Carlton Road, at the same locations. If you are going to have them, then please, use other locations as well. Don't stick to the same locations, because then people have thrown their rubbish, but others obviously want to do the same. The other thing is the length of the Stratford Road part of Camp Hill, Stratford Road side. The last time we spoke, you were saying something about council's going to try getting a high street bid. Are you any closer with that with businesses? Have you got anything to report on that with us? And my last sort of points is that street cleaning. How often do street cleaners come out? Because we've still got leaves on our streets.
Well, I'll try and get through the list in order that you gave them to me, Imran. So, sorry about that. I think it might be my internet. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Well, thanks for that. Yeah. So timescales, Imran, for what we're doing it now. So you will start to see enforcement activity. And again, the next meeting we have, I will be able to bring some data and some information on what we've done in your specific ward, people we've prosecuted and actions that we've taken. So it is going on as we speak. So as much as I've given the assurance, it is working as we're talking now. The mobile HRWC, let me take that back to the guys that organise it. We should spread it across the whole ward. I'm sure you understand that if you've seen it, it is 2 quite large vehicles that block the road. And in some of the roads, it does create a problem because we create a problem. But I'm more than happy, councillors, if you've got any suggestions where you feel. We have set up in a couple of mosques and a couple of churches across the city. If we want to do that, I'm more than happy to arrange for that to happen when we come. I want to give everybody the opportunity. And having said that, our best day where we collected, I think it was 30 tonne in one day. It's when we set up in a mosque, in the car park. So again, more than happy to work with anyone that wants to give us a suggestion of places to go. Stratford Road bid, sorry Imran, I don't think we can get that one because it's the people won't buy into it, if I'm honest. But what we are doing with our Love Your Streets, we will be doing an all-out day as I discussed earlier, and we will be going through all the shops to get them to buy into, hopefully looking after the area outside their shop, and to deal with their waste properly if they're not, etc, etc. And again, when we do the all-out days, that involves ourselves, waste enforcement, waste prevention, the police, the fire, residents, councillors, our parks department, the engineers. We go out and we look at every single issue in that bit of road and we look to deal with it there and then. So someone will be contacting your councillors named Selena. She's sort of guided by me to a degree, but I'll lead her towards you and she'll tell you when she's coming to Sparkbrook and down to Balsall Heath, so we can make sure we're all there on the day and we join up. Hopefully I've answered them all there, Imran.
Leslie, just the last point of street cleaners, how often do they come out? Because we still have leaves in our streets.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't write that one down. So street cleansing is, they're out every day. We've got a crew in Sparkbrook. We've got a crew in Balsall Heath. They will be working across the ward on a Monday to Friday basis. I would like to think that all roads within the ward over in them two wards should see something at least fortnightly. And if you don't feel that's the case, please let me know. That's backed up by the deep cleaning crews, as I explained earlier. And all the initiatives that what we've got now running, that's graffiti, the dumping crews, the deep cleansing crews, the extra dumping crews, they will all be working across the wards, so the actual ward crew can concentrate on cleaning, the ward crew and the sweepers. So we expect all wards to be getting much cleaner, and we're managing it and monitoring it. As I said, we do. It's not us that does it ourselves. Someone goes out and grades our roads. And again, councillors, at our next meeting, I'll bring some information to show that whether the ward's got cleaner or dirtier. I can't tell off the top of my head. I would expect it to have got cleaner, but let me bring that information to the next meeting, hopefully face to face.
Thank you. I've got Dee who's got a hand up. Dee.
Thank you, Chair. Leslie, hello. It's very encouraging to hear your initiatives going on. And I must say, last week I was down at our units in Hayden Street, and it did look as if somebody had taken a broom to the street. So that was encouraging. Unfortunately, that was on the road and outside our units on the corner of Arthur Street. You know, the tipping continues, which is unfortunate. And, you know, I've mentioned that we've been there 9 years as tenants of the city, you know, and we've got a lot of tenants within our unit. So, you know, in terms of helping the economy, you know, we've got about 50 people who are probably employed in our units in total, and trying to keep people wanting to stay there. The environment's quite an important factor. And over the years, very frustratingly, we've you know, suggested and offered lots of things, and at our own cost. You might have noticed on Arthur Street there's some bollards, and you know, we had to pay to have those done because we were getting cars dumped there, burnt, with the view of potentially burning down our unit. So we've had to fork out £10,000 ourselves, which, you know, isn't a small sum. So we feel slightly aggrieved when people say that maybe the trees could be cut down, and that was a conversation we had 5 years ago to stop dumpers coming there and being hidden. And also this thing about the cost and working smarter, it would be interesting if you have any approach to say, right, Arthur Street, we've been there 10 times this week. It doesn't make sense to keep cleaning it up so other people can dump. We need to put some CCTV there, and we need to start prosecuting and get the message across. So I don't know how you do make that data available to say, or how you decide where you put the CCTV. So that was one of the other points. And then suddenly this year we've had masses of graffiti on our units, where tenants of the council, they've refused outright to come and remove it. It's not very attractive. So that was a query. And I think there's a bit of an elephant in the room as well. And I think the elephant in the room is about education, about educating people about rubbish. Sadly, not all cultures understand why disposing of rubbish on the floor isn't acceptable. And I think there is a process of education that we need to address with all of our communities. And I think, you know, that elephant in the room, we shouldn't be fearful of that, and we need to address that. You know, I'm Asian myself, and certain members of our community would think, in my experience, of nothing about sort of disposing of rubbish. And I think there's absolutely an education process. And really, and I just wanted to say a thumbs up for the police who have been with us in terms of trying to get a CCTV. I can install CCTV on the corner of my unit, but I've got no one to send it to, no assurance that anybody's going to be prosecuted. People have to stop a car on that corner or a van to unload, so number plates are available. But I need to work with somebody who's going to say, I'm not breaking any data protection rules by putting a TB there. It's a perfect corner. People stop there on an hourly basis and dump. So anything you can do, we would be most grateful, Leslie, and well done for your street cleaners. Please do send a thanks from us, because it was noted.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's encouraging that some of the work we are doing is getting noticed. If I can go in reverse order to a couple of the issues you raised, CCTV, obviously with GDPR now, it's put lots of rules and regulations about what we do. But I do know that Arthur Street, which I got involved with, I think it was last week, because of that continual dumping, I am really pushing for a camera to be put up there. I'm sure you'll understand and hopefully agree, it's an ideal place. That it's very busy in the daytime because it's a industrial area, but come 6:30 of the night, it gets very quiet. That tree line allows people to come in and dump. They're the people we want to catch, because that's the easy target, dare I say it. So I'm pushing for cameras there, because yes, that problem has gone on for a long time, and I want to capture that one. So let me assure I'm pushing for that. If I might, I mean, I don't know the name of your company, and please don't share it on this meeting, but if you can go via an email to myself or councillor, we can join up. I can put you in contact with someone. If you've got a camera that catches something, I promise you we will deal with it if we got the information. So it's not done in vain, and at no risk to yourself.
Okay, could we have a email or contact details emailed to us later on, please? Because, you know, we're willing to put a camera. If you're going to put a camera up, then that saves me some money.
Yes, yeah. Again, I want to put my email in the chat, so please drop me a note. If I can just touch on the graffiti. Now, graffiti, we're happy to move it, but we're not allowed to move it off land without people agreeing. So what I want to do as a step is, I will get someone to come round. You have to agree a waiver that if we wash it off your premises, you're not going to fine us or sue us, basically. But if you agree for us moving it, we can keep control of the graffiti on your building. And again, if you catch up off my email that I want to put in the chat, please do so, and I'll get you invited to the right person to speak to. I think that was all for you, dear.
Yeah, wonderful. And if anybody could cut those trees, like you say, thin those out, that would be good, because the housing development's going in across the road, and you know, people will be paying lots of money to live there and not opposite a fly tipping area. So no, everything you've said, Leslie, is fantastic. Thank you.
I will speak. Sorry, councillor. Just so you do know, our department has morphed a bit now. Where we used to be waste management or fleet and waste, we now fall under city operations. City operations were incorporated with a level of highways, the parks department, the street cleansing, the refuse collection, the waste enforcement team, and some other teams. And city operations is what it says, the operation within the city where it affects residents. So we haven't got housing with us any longer, but when we do things and we can react, we can bring the right people to the place at the right time to be able to deal with things. So once I got my email in, I'm just nearly finished typing it now. Please contact me outside of the meeting, and I'll look to
Thank
deal
you.
with issues. Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Dee that I've put my email address in, so if you can just send us both an email, and if Dee wants us to come down, if she wants me to come down and do a site visit, more than happy to do that with you, Dee. I think we have exchanged some
Right,
emails.
right, that'd be lovely, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more hands up for you, Leslie. We will be inviting you soon. And I'll probably will give you a quick email just about Love Your Street initiative as well. So okay, I've got one more hand up for you. Sorry, Shafak Ahmed.
Hi there. I just heard everything, and I just wanted to say something about the fly tipping. That as part of the group, I want to say that we need to stop. We need to start handing out fines. We need to really I think we should have a need to make a statement about it, that we are going to be giving out fines, because a lot of people do come forward, and it's very unfortunate that even by coming forward and providing evidence, there isn't much action taken from on behalf of the council. So I think we need a bit more enforcement, and we need to start seeing fines being given out. It's all good that the council is making effort. I think, you know, by seeing the council making effort to have the streets clean is a big improvement. But I think it also needs to be hand in hand, where they are helping, they also need to encourage that their people, when they do report it, it does get followed up. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thanks for that, Shafiq. Probably I should have mentioned it in my presentation earlier. Part of what we are doing is when we catch somebody, and again, a CCTV might do it, or a Ring doorbell, if I say that, maybe, we are going to have a wall of shame. So we're going to let in the local community know what people are doing, well, across the city. So we're going to name and shame people that are willing to come and dump their waste, etc. I've got a presentation I want to share, but it takes about 30 minutes, and that shows you some of the activities. It shows some of the fines we give out. We've just done 2 big cases, and we've locked 2 people up in prison, 2 separate people. You know, it'd be worth sharing that, because a lot of people across the city think nothing's happening, but it is. And again, if you let me come to your next meeting, like this one, I'll probably have to hijack it. But I think street cleansing or street scene has turned the corner now, and we're working for, flat out, the residents of Birmingham. We can't do it without your help and support, but we want to show you, we want to celebrate when we do good things, and we want to show you when we catch people that are dumping. So please, Shafiq, bear with us. We will be showing you shortly.
Thank you.
If I could say one more thing.
Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one more thing, and I've heard this firsthand when I caught someone fly tipping, and the person said that it's okay, you know, we do this all the time, and it's pretty normal. You know, it's a normal system where we just put everything rubbish out, whatever it is, and then the council come and pick it up automatically. So some people fly tip because it's seen as a normal thing, not as a wrong thing. Is because it's like a system that has been going on without any kind of consequences. So I think it comes down to, like, not everyone's kind of familiar that it's a bad thing to do fly tipping. Unfortunately, some people are still out there where they head in the, like, you know, they don't know that it's a wrong thing. So it's a mixed message, but really, like, when we do put out enforcement and put out fines, that's where people really start learning and start knowing the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah, thanks for that, Shafiq. And you are quite right. I think over time, the culture in Birmingham's eroded to a degree, and people do think it's okay to do it. And I think it was Dee that might have mentioned about, you know, we need to encourage and we need to educate people still. I think that's part of what we do, but lots of people know what they shouldn't do and still do it, and I think we need to tackle them. I think Councillor, what probably would be good, your next meeting, if you invite and I'll send you the link to the person from Love Your Streets, and she can come along as well, and she can highlight what we can do as Love Your Streets, because it's for very that reason. We deal with the people that are abusing where they live, should we say, or bringing it in from where they to other areas. So the Love Your Streets initiative can really do a lot for some of the wards across the city. So I'll drop a note on her name, Councillor. We'll get a meeting in maybe.
Yeah, I made a note as well. Habib?
Just a quick question. Are City Council car parks covered? There's two off Ladypool Road, one on Alfred Street and the other on Oldfield Road. They need quite regular attention because people do dump there as well, especially people who park and then eat and leave their takeaway food behind. I was just checking if car parks are covered.
Yes, I think that was a bit. Yes, they are, but car parks are separate to us, unfortunately, and they have to manage their own. I know them car parks very well, and they are very well used in the evenings for people going to the takeaways, etc. Let me pick that up with the car park people in the city, because I really don't have mind cleaning them for them daily, but I want them to pay us for it so we can put that money back into the system for the better of the area. But I will pick that up, Habib.
Thank you.
Right, Leslie, I don't see any more questions for you. I don't think there's anything in the chat either. Just a quick point on local schools and mosque community groups. They are taking their own initiative and doing community litter picks, and even some of the schools are going out. I mean, Christchurch is one of them who goes out once a month with the children, and recently what they've done is they've actually made some posters and they've got the clearance or the go ahead from the parks department, so they will be laminating them and putting them around parks, trying to educate. So it'll be children who's doing it, just trying to educate people. So if we can do that in all our parks, that would be welcoming. So we're going to do a trial run in one of our local parks in Sparkbrook. So I don't know if Balsall Heath Park wants to join in as well, but I'll talk to you the local groups afterwards about that anyway. Right, okay, thank you, Les. I don't see any more comments for you. I will send you a quick email and some contact details later on, so thank you. Les, yeah, Les has put his email address in the chat, so if anyone's got any issues, they kind of get in touch with me or Les. So right, thank you so much, Les.
Thank you, councillors. Have a good evening all.
Thank you, thanks, bye. Okay, we have invited the local police for an update. I'm not sure if they are in attendance. Okay, have you got anyone here from the police team?
No, Chair, not at the moment.
Right, okay. We will go over to next item, Balsall Heath Community Governance Review. Claire Hardwick.
Thank you, Councillor Hussain. So just to introduce this, so I'm Claire Hardwick. I work for the NDSU, which is the Neighbourhood Support and Development Unit within the City Council. I'm here with my colleague Tony Smith, who's from Policy Exec, who heads that up, and also partners are working with in Balsall Heath, who are the Neighbourhood Steering Group. And we're going to talk to you about the Community Governance Review, but we wanted to first put that in context to explain why we're undertaking that. And we've decided to undertake a community governance review because we've had a proposal from community groups in Balsall Heath who form the neighbourhood steering group to look at creating a neighbourhood or parish council in Balsall Heath. So first of all, to explain that and their proposal and explain who they are, I'm going to hand across to Dave Cusack, who is Chief Exec at St Paul's Community Development Trust and is here as well. Dave and some of his partners who he's working with are going to talk to us about their proposal and who they are and why they're suggesting this. And then Tony and I will look at and go through what a community governance review is and how we're hoping you'll have your say and get involved in telling us what you think about that afterwards. And there'll be plenty of time for questions as we go through as well and at the end. OK, so if I hand across to Dave. And I think Kay is going to put some slides on the screen, hopefully, for Dave to speak to help illustrate what he's saying.
Are you ready for me to put them up now, Dave? Yeah.
Yes, please, Kay.
Just bear
Thank
with me 1 second.
Good evening, everybody. As Claire said, I'm Dave Cusack. I'm the Chief Executive at St Paul's Community Development Trust, which hopefully people know is down off Clifton Road and has been working for the residents of Balsall Heath and surrounding areas for the last 40 odd years. I've been asked just to talk a little bit about what a neighbourhood council is, but I think probably more importantly is why we think the area would benefit from one. So next slide, please, Kay. The group who form the steering group, you'll see in front of you, there's a list of the people. They're all people who either live, work or volunteer within the area. They're not people who necessarily, except for residents, want to become neighbourhood councillors and stand if people vote for this proposal. But they're people who came together because we all work and care about the area and want to see things improve. And I think the last item on the agenda, I mean, it was probably fate that you were talking about rubbish, graffiti, the environment, because one of the things that this group all agree on is if this proposal goes ahead, that's an area that we want the neighbourhood council to focus on. Next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about Balsall Heath and the Neighbourhood Development Plan. Neighbourhood Development Plan was drawn up in 2015. What is it? It's a planning plan tool that looks at what needs to be done to improve the built environment. It was done following consultation across the area. There was a ballot and it was adopted. We want to help to bring that document to life, because I have to say probably the reality of it at the moment is it's a wish list of things, and most of which aren't being done. But we based this proposal on the boundary defined in the plan, and that's on the next slide. It covers a population of 15,000 people, and all of those people, adults, would be entitled to a vote on the proposal that will take place in the autumn of this year. I'm sorry, that's not a brilliant map. It's obviously very cluttered, but that gives you some indication of the boundary. So what is a neighbourhood council? Next slide, please, Kay. So it is a tier of local government, and it is what's known as a statutory body. It would be independent from the city council. We would have, as I've already said, a clearly defined boundary, and we would have unpaid councillors who would stand and be voted for, like in any other election that people go out and vote, be it local elections, general elections. They serve the community that they work in, and their focus is all going to be about that community. They can raise their own funds by adding a small charge, which is called a precept, to the council tax. And we're conscious that this might be an issue for people, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But I think the focus and the difference to paying your council tax is the precept that you would pay if this council was created would have to be spent locally, focusing on the priorities of the neighbourhood council. So every penny of it would go back into Balsall Heath. And the neighbourhood council will be created within a parish council legislation. That's a bit gobbledygook. I wouldn't worry too much about that, but it is a statutory body. It's a body that will have powers, and it will be a body that will be accountable to local people. Next slide, Kay, please. So if you're a council taxpayer, you would pay a precept. Roughly, that tends to be about £1 a week more than on top of your council tax. And we recognise, you know, particularly with the economic climate as it is, that might be a concern for people. I think the only way we would sell it is that it will, all the money, as I said previously, would be used to improve life within this area. It's all about improving the lives of residents within Balsall Heath. Next slide, please. What it won't do, it doesn't replace the council. It definitely doesn't do that. It won't manage big things like sewers, road surfaces, bins. You can read those. They all stay with the city council. But it can do additional things that make life better, and it can talk and lobby the city council about current services. So there would be a relationship, of course, with the local councillors and with officers within the city council. Next slide, please. That's just a picture. And again, okay, so who can be local councillors? Well, that, again, I'm not going to read all of that, but if you're 18 years old, if you're a British citizen, if you live in the area or you've worked in the area for a period of time, you can stand for election to a neighbourhood council. You don't have to be a member of a political party. You can be, but you don't have to be. But the common theme is people who live and care about the area that they live in. Okay. Okay, so is it ever going to happen? Well, we can't say yes or no. Today is about introducing the idea. We also did an open day at Moseley Road Baths at the back end of last year where residents came in and we spoke to them about it. The point of this is that in the autumn of this year, there would be an election, a ballot of all residents within the area to vote yes or no for a neighbourhood council. And I think, last slide, Kay, please. There's an email address there. The presentation that I've just done, there is a much fuller presentation, but I was conscious of time. So I pulled out what I thought was the relevant things. But if people want the full presentation, I will be sending those to Kay, and Kay will forward them on to people. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, David. Yes, if you want to circulate the slides, send them over to Kay, and Kay will circulate everybody, and they can have a good read in their own time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any questions? I know Carmen had a hand up, but was that because she couldn't see the screen?
Yeah, it was because I couldn't see anything, but also just one quick question. In the current climate, people are struggling, and to be asked to be paying some more money towards a project, people are going to find it really, really difficult. I know £10 may not seem a lot of money, but to some people, with the hike in all the amenities at the moment, heading for 54% and other basic things that are going to be needed, £10 may be beyond people's reach. They may want the change, and I applaud you for bringing this about, but to start charging people for different projects within the areas, I think it's going to be a bit difficult. That's all I want to say, but also I couldn't see any of the slides or anything. But if you could forward that to me later, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. We're going to forward both lots of slides. So we're going to the ones we're using in a minute as well. So we'll make sure that everyone's got those. I'm sorry you couldn't see it throughout. Dave, did you want to respond to that about the precepts?
Maybe Habib might want to say something.
Oh, right. Okay, Habib, sorry.
Thank you, Dave. I just want to, I'm a member of the group, and I do genuinely believe, and have believed for a while, that giving ownership to local people to have influence on how the money is spent is a fantastic idea. And I think the £1 per week, which is what Dave mentioned, so it would be £52 a year, approximately. That's really what the people would have to pay. I think one of the things we probably haven't talked about is whether that could be offset by the City Council as part of the council tax. I don't know whether that would be possible. But you're right, this is probably the biggest issue in getting something devolved locally so that you can fund proper projects. And I think for many years, I mean, we had the subject earlier about rubbish, you know, Balsall Heath has been one of the biggest areas to suffer environmentally. And if we did duplicate some of the activities that City Council doesn't quite do correctly in our area, then I think there is a case to be made for offsetting some of that cost. So I just wanted to say to Carmen, I am a local resident and I completely agree with you. This is going to be the biggest issue that we will face, especially in the current climate with rising living costs. However, many residents over many years have been looking for a mechanism, a statutory mechanism to support themselves and spend money on what they believe are the correct priorities in the local area, rather than somebody else dictating to them. So this is the balance, and this is an initiative which helps us to move in that area. So I would certainly say I support the concept, I'm fully behind it. It will bring power to the local community, but the money will be an issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Habib. Dave, did you want to say anything else? And I'm going to ask Tony Smith to also.
No, I think Habib's right. I mean, I suppose for residents, it's thinking about, is that £1 a week worth it for what they're going to get back? And that's what they will have to decide when they see, when they get to the ballot box to vote. That's how, you know, people will vote on that basis.
I think it's also worth clarifying that there are exemptions to that. So if people aren't paying council tax, they won't be expected to pay this, and it's important to make that point. Tony, did you want to comment on the issue of precepts? I know we're going to have information. We've got information online at the City Council website, which we're going to come on to in a sec, but which covers topics like this.
Hi everyone, I'm Tony Smith. I work with the City Council as a policy advisor, and you'll have seen from one of the slides, I'm also working with our friends in Balsall Heath to take this proposal forward. I think it's important to say that the £1 a week that's been mentioned is the average precept that any parish council in the country has levied. So if you look across all the parish councils across the country, that is the average of what they've asked. But they can charge whatever they want. It's a democratic process. So the people that you would elect to the parish council would decide what the precept is. But we tend to use the £50 a year as a sort of illustration of the ballpark figure. But obviously, as Claire has indicated, all the normal exemptions and reductions and discounts on council tax that we all get anyway, if we're single or on different types of benefits or whatever, all of that applies to that £50 as well. And you also have to remember that £50 is for Band D, and nearly every property in Balsall Heath is well below Band D. So, you know, there won't actually be many people who are paying that £1 a week even. So just to put a bit of context on that, hopefully that's helpful.
Thanks, Tony. Can I ask Dee, you wanted to ask a question? Do you want to come in now, Dee?
Yeah, I just want to say hello to Tony Smith from my days of old at the council. So, hi, Tony. Thank you for that.
I was sitting here trying to remember where I know you from, but yeah, hi.
I think it's a bit disappointing, actually, that we're having to levy additional charges. I understand spending to save, but when we're spending and not learning, and I go back to the waste fly tipping for the last 9 years, I would be curious to know how much has it cost over the 9 years not to have put CCTV there, not to have prosecuted, how many man and woman hours it has cost to not learn and change that. And now asking for additional monies and putting it into context, £1 is a lot for some and nothing for others. However, it's about how we're spending. And I know everybody might not be a fan of Jeff Bezos at Amazon, but his philosophy is, if it goes wrong once, I don't want to hear it again. He fixes it, and that's why he's successful. So we should be fixing it rather than pumping more money in to spend it differently. You know, I think as a resident, I would want assurances about how much was it? How much did that corner cost over the last 5 years? You know, what could have been saved for this project?
Okay, thank you, Dee. Habib wanted to come back
Yeah,
in.
I just wanted to come back on some of the points Tony's made. Couple of points primarily. One, just a bit of clarification, please, Tony, that not everybody will pay because they have exemptions. So does the council actually make up the perspective that people are supposed to put in? So will the money actually be only what we collect, and the people who don't pay, that doesn't get added? And the second question, I think this addresses some of the points being made about perhaps fixing what the council does. I mean, we've been around, I think we've had 9 years. I've been around for 40 years in Balsall Heath. So they haven't been fixed. And I think one of the important things about devolution and giving local community members the power is they can prioritise where they spend the money on. So it won't duplicate council services, and they will be able to work with the local councillors to actually get things done, hopefully a bit more efficiently. But more importantly, this money will allow us to do things that will actually uplift the area so that it's a self-perpetuating cycle, positive cycle to improve the area. For example, in the neighbourhood plan, one of the things that people wanted was a local train station, for example. And although that's a big project, having some local focus on it may bring that to bear fruit in the future. So that's an example of the type of thing that the local parish council could push and get funding, not necessarily from the city council, but you know, there's other forms of funding that they might be able to draw on. So I don't think it'll be a complete drain on just the local residents, although they'll have to pay the perspective, we agree, but they will be able to draw in other funding as well, which and because they're a statutory body, they'll have some legitimacy to do that. So I think, you know, I think we need to get that point across really strongly as well, because these things won't just be using this £1 to get done, because you won't be able to do much with that. You know, buying one sweeper will eat that money up per year. So I think it's this concept which allows us to do a lot more, because our priorities and focuses are different to what the local council's policies are. And I just wanted to make that point.
Shall I just come back quickly on the point about making up the discounts and stuff? I mean, the answer is yes. So whenever the city council gives a discount or an exemption on council tax, that money is made up by the government. So we get a block grant, which they calculate centrally, which makes up for the difference. And the same thing would happen with a parish council or a neighbourhood council. So some of that money then gets passed on to the neighbourhood council, so that the total amount that the neighbourhood council gets in income is as if everybody's paying full council tax, even though, you know, a large number in Balsall Heath wouldn't be. So hopefully that's helpful. And just on Dee's point, I think it's really important for people to remember that this money does not go to the city council. The whole point of being able to raise this money is to give some independence to the neighbourhood council, so that it can basically do what it wants to do in the neighbourhood without any interference from the city council. It's an independent body, and it can basically develop its own priorities and spend that money, you know, as it wants, obviously within the legal framework. So it's not going to subsidise existing council services. It's going to hopefully do things that will make the area better. But I do totally agree, obviously, about not wasting money, and we should learn the lessons. That's an absolutely spot on point.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Are there any more questions? Habib, is your hand up from before, or do you have another point to make?
Sorry, I forgot to put it
No,
down.
it's okay. It's all right. I don't want to miss one. I can't see any more hands. Oh, John Newson.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I think there's a huge relationship with the earlier item. I mean, we know we have huge problems with rubbish and waste everywhere. And I think it's because many people don't think that this area belongs to anybody. Nobody cares about it and nobody's in charge of it. And I think something a neighbourhood council could do is indeed to start putting up signs everywhere saying, welcome to Balsall Heath, this is our area, don't do this, do this. And start communicating with people that we live here and we don't want this. And we have some ideas about how to solve our problems, which frankly the council's not very good at solving problems, as we all know.
Okay, thank you for that point, John. Is there any more questions that anybody had about what Dave said? And then Tony and I are going to come on to talking about the community governance review to explain what that is. No, okay, so I'm going to share my screen hopefully and bring up some slides which will give you an idea. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, Claire can see it.
No.
Okay. Oh.
I'm probably having problems with my computer.
Oh, right. Okay.
Anything.
We're gonna pull out the key points anyway, but we will as I say, send these around. So basically, as I was saying before Dave was speaking, that we are actually having a community governance review in response to the proposed neighbourhood council, parish council for Balsall Heath. And we're required by law to consult residents and stakeholders as part of the community governance review. It was a policy that the council had to conduct a community governance review in response to a proposal coming in to look at a parish or neighbourhood council. They're the same thing. Oh, has the presentation gone off the screen?
No,
we can still see it. It's fine.
Oh, you can still see it. Okay, well, I can't see it, which is an interesting. I'll try again. It's gone off my screen, so okay. Hopefully you can see that. Anyway, yeah. So as I was saying, it's policy in the City Council now that if we get a proposal to look at exploring a neighbourhood or parish council, that we conduct a community governance review. And it's basically a way that we can actually look at views from the local community that would be affected, specifically about whether or not a parish or neighbourhood council should be created in the area. Okay, so the process in terms of the CGR, the Community Governance Review, is that we'll consider all the responses that are received alongside other evidence to evaluate that proposal and to make recommendations to Cabinet as to whether or not a neighbourhood council should be created and whether the next stage of the process should be gone on to. If there's sufficient evidence in favour of creating a parish and neighbourhood council, the Cabinet will consider whether a consultative ballot should be held. So this consultation phase that we're now in is important because we are trying to get people's views locally. That's residents who live in the area, people who have connections with the area because they have lived in the area previously or work in the area. We are asking people to give their views and to clarify kind of what their perspective is. So are they a resident currently, previously, and so on, and actually tell us what they think about that proposal. And there's going to be a consultative ballot that you would have heard Dave refer to earlier, and we're looking at holding that in autumn or late autumn really this year, which would be about November, we think, which is a second round of consultation effectively, and it gives every voter in the area a chance to have essentially a vote to say whether or not they want this to be progressed. So in terms of some key dates, 31st of January was the official launch of the Community Governance Review. And that was when the formal notices were sort of published, if you like, I suppose, and displayed in Balsall Heath. So they're at the Moseley Baths, They are at the St Paul's Community Development Trust or Printworks, and we're putting them in other venues across Balsall Heath. They're also displayed on the Birmingham City Council website and also at the Woodcock Street office, City Council office. If anybody wants to see the notice, we can send that out as well. And so that's been displayed to formally announce that we've launched the Community Governance Review. And then from yesterday, the 14th of February through to the 24th of April is the consultation stage. And the consultation online survey on the Be Heard part of the site has gone live. Some of you might have used Be Heard before, but it's a way that we can ask people's views online about key topics and get feedback. There are some other ways too, which I will actually go on to on the next slide, but essentially that is one of the key opportunities there. And that, as I say, the window for that consultation is between from yesterday through to the 24th of April. In May and June, we then review all the responses. We've got no idea how many responses we'll get. We're hoping there'll be absolutely loads, because that would mean that people are taking part in this and letting us know what you think. And we'll be looking through those responses and reviewing those. And then a report will be produced, which Tony will be playing a key role in, and he can talk a bit more about in a minute maybe, which would go to Council Cabinet around July time, which would be saying essentially what we're recommending based on what the consultation showed us. And then if that all goes ahead, the consultative ballot, would be arranged for autumn 2022 this year. So we're looking at November, as I was saying. So different ways you can actually have your say in the consultation. As I was talking about the Be Heard online survey, we'll send these links out and I'll put them in the chat in a moment as well. But also you can just go straight onto the Birmingham City Council website and put in Balsall Heath Community Governance Review, and it'll go through that way as well. Alongside the information about the survey, there's also really clear information about what the Community Governance Review is, what a neighbourhood and parish council is, what the process is. We're putting up frequently asked questions as a resource as well. And it's really important, I think, that I should say that as a Birmingham City Council, our position on this is neutral, essentially. We want to enable communities to explore this and other options for the community. But in terms of the information that we put out, that is neutral, objective information, and our role is to make sure that the clear information is available and accessible to all, and that we're doing everything we can to ensure that everyone in the area who would be affected knows about this and can get involved and have their say. So we're not promoting this. We are promoting our consultation to get people to have a say, but we're not promoting whether or not you think the neighbourhood council is a good idea, but just trying to make sure there's clear information there throughout this process, and that the process is followed appropriately. There's also the opportunity, if you can't or don't want to do the Be Heard online survey, you can send in written responses to us. There's a postal address there, which is at Sturchley Bath's office, and there's also our email. We're just asking if people could note it clearly that it's the Balsall Heath Community Governance Review response, just so it doesn't get lost with all the other emails and correspondence that we get. So all of that would then be taken into account when we're looking at what people are telling us about their views. So it's just to reiterate that your views really do matter. We really want to know what you think about this. Everyone's got a right to be consulted about how you'll be governed in the area and what arrangements are put in place locally. And we really want to hear your views. There will be a lot of communications going out through this process and up to the ballot as well, from the neighbourhood steering group and the proposers locally. And we'll also be making sure, as I say, that we have lots of neutral and informative information going out as well to complement that, and to make sure hopefully that everyone knows what is being proposed and how they can have their say and answer any questions that anyone might have. There's also a phone number we've got if people would prefer to call if they've got any questions or comments. And we'll, as I say, review everything that we receive and then look at what would be the next stage. Before I take any questions, I just wanted to hand across to Tony to see if he wanted to add anything.
I don't think there's anything to add. I think that was really comprehensive, Claire. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just glad you could see it, because I was worried when it went off the screen. Any questions from anybody?
Claire, yes, I have
a hand. Sorry. Can't see who's actually asking that. Sorry, did you want to ask your question?
Yes, I'll ask a question. Just on the
Habib, sorry.
Just on the communication, this is always the problem. We as a group have been working away for quite a while now, and getting the message through to the community and the residents that we want to get this message to is really difficult. I know you can't promote this and you can't spend money on it, but is there any way that a leaflet drop, either as part of the council bills that go out in soon, there could be a consultative summary and how people can air their views? I think the things you propose are really good, but not everybody is IT savvy in Balsall Heath. And I think this is a difficulty that we will face. And I can already predict a very small number of active residents will put their inputs in, and not everybody else will be heard. So to get a balanced view of what residents actually want, I'm all in favour of trying to promote this. But I think from a communication point of view, I am not sure what you've shown is sufficient to get to all of the community that we want to get to, so they can have a say. So I'm a little bit concerned about the communication, and the consultation period is very short in reality.
Okay, so just to give you a bit more information about that. So I didn't really go into the wider communication, just more the methods of the kind of the main headline methods. But one of the things we are doing is writing out to all the stakeholders, and we're also going to send that out through the neighbourhood steering groups list as well, but as well as directly contacting organisations and groups locally that we're aware of, to try and make sure they've got really clear information which they can pass on as well. We're also working with comms to look at information which should be used on bus stops locally, on billboards as well, you know, to try and raise awareness of what's happening, particularly as we move up towards a ballot, if that is the next stage that's taken, but very much to get the word out in different formats. And also in terms of different formats, all the various sources of information are available in alternative formats if people want them, but it's very much trying to work through the existing groups and organisations and networks that are there in Balsall Heath to make sure that people are reached essentially through all the different ways they might actually have contact. I don't know if Tony wanted to say anything else on that.
No, that's fine. Yeah, this is only the beginning of the process, and obviously, as Claire has said, our job is to make sure that people have the facts in order to make their own decision about this option, this choice that there is for the neighbourhood. And you know, so it's obviously in our interest to make sure we get out information as effectively as possible. So we'll take on board, I think, you know, any suggestions or ideas that people have for getting information out.
Yeah, I think it's also just important to reiterate as well that the first phase of consultation is for us to then review whether and recommend to Cabinet whether we go to the next stage, which would then be an actual consultative ballot. So although the first stage finishes at the end of April, then if it does progress, if it appears that there is enough interest and support locally to look at this and explore this, then there will be the lead up to the ballot, and obviously a lot more significant information and comms will go out to make sure that people are aware this is happening. Please find out more about it, have your say, use your vote. And we're trying to make sure, you know, we're looking at how we can maximise turnout if there was a ballot such as that, and people feel confident to be able to express their views in whichever way they want to vote. So that would be, as I say, the actual ballot would be November.
And when the ballot's sent out, obviously every single elector in the area would get, you know, information about what it is they're being asked to vote on.
Yeah, and we're looking to have a lot of information leading up to that as well, and making sure, you know, as you're saying, that really that everyone is actually able to be aware of that, and that is alongside the work of the neighbourhood steering group, who will also be doing a lot of community engagement work and going out, but they obviously are promoting the idea of the neighbourhood proposed neighbourhood council, whereas our information is the objective. This is the kind of factual information about it, rather than saying that you should or shouldn't do this. But there will be all that comms that will be coming from the neighbourhood steering group too. I saw that Dave has had to leave now, so I won't try and go across to Dave to comment on that. but also, you know, we are actually working with the group to enable that community engagement to happen and really helping them look at how to make that effective. But obviously any ideas that anyone's got of how to reach more people, then all of us would gratefully receive those. I know the steering group would as well. Carmen and then John.
I just want to ask, is this only for Balsall Heath or does it cover Sparkbrook as well? The steering group, or because this is the first I'm hearing about this, so it's probably because the first time I've been on these team meetings for ages. But information, it's just lacking that I have gotten absolutely no idea whether it covers my area, which is Sparkbrook, whether there's a group in Sparkbrook, whether this questionnaire is for Sparkbrook, and if there is such a group, who's leading on it?
It sort of overlaps the two wards.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we can put the map up again or whether you can see it.
I can't see nothing. I don't know what's wrong with my.
Okay, we did put a map up, so
yeah.
it sort of goes across from the Edgbaston end of Balsall Heath right the way across to the Ladypool Road end.
Okay.
So it includes bits of the two wards. But there isn't a separate process for Sparkbrook or the rest of Sparkbrook.
So it won't cover past Ladypool Road. So it won't cover Dearman Road, Dollivan Road, Gladstone Road, Anderton Road. It does not cover any of those roads.
Ted's shaking his head. So
no.
I've just put in the chat as well, Carmen, that the map, it's in the presentation, which I know you couldn't see, which Kay's sending out. The map is there, which Dave in his presentation covered that. But also on the City Council website, if you look at that, it has got a map of the area you can click on and see exactly what.
It only covers up until Stony Lane then, and the boundaries of Stony Lane along the Stratford Road to Ladypool Road and that side. So it's basically most of Balsall Heath and hardly any of Sparkbrook then.
Ted, did you want to say anything, Ted, on that? Because you're nodding, but did you want to comment on the area at all?
Well, the boundary is Stony Lane. It was the boundary for the neighbourhood development plan, so that was almost like the area that was covered by what was Balsall Heath Forum at that period of time. So it was along Highgate Road and then down Stony Lane, and then it sort of wiggles its way back round Taunton Road, back up that way, as Tony said, back down to the Pershaw Road. So it's that bit which is the sort of B12 postcode within that area.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to come to John. He's got his hand raised as well. John, you're on mute. Did you know that?
Does this already exist in Birmingham? Have other areas been through this process? And does the City Council work satisfactorily with neighbourhood councils already established in Birmingham?
I'll start answering that, and then I'll hand across to Tony. So in terms of there's a parish council for Sutton Coalfield. I'd probably say Royal Sutton Coalfield, and New Frankley, when the boundaries changed, that was originally Bromsgrove, and that came across into Birmingham. So Frankley have also got a parish council up and running. So there's two at the moment. Tony, did you want to take the more difficult part of the question?
Thank you for that. Yeah, just on the creation of those councils, the Sutton Coalfield Town Council was created very recently, and we did use a similar process. So we had a referendum at the end, which had a big majority in favour. And that's a bit of an unusual council because it's a town council rather than a neighbourhood council. It covers a very big area of 130,000 odd population, and obviously has a big precept, employs staff, etc. It's probably the biggest town council in the country, in fact. And it's very unusual in that it sits within a city. So the town of Sutton Coalfield sits within the city of Birmingham. The Frankley one is a bit more normal, if you like. It's a neighbourhood, but it wasn't created under the city council because it came into the city from Worcestershire, and it was already a parish. So that would have been a different process quite some time ago. In terms of how the city council works with them, there's always room for improvement. We are, as part of the white paper that we published a couple of years back, that contained the commitment to have more parish councils if people wanted them. We also committed to improving the way we work with those councils. And we've also offered in that white paper something we call devolution deals for local areas, where we will sit down and discuss with the parish council and neighbourhood council the sort of services they would like to take over from the city council where appropriate in their area. So we're trying to improve the way we work with the councils. We haven't got many yet. The vast majority of the city doesn't have that layer of governance. So in most parts of the city council is not used to working with those sort of organisations, but the commitment is there to make that work better. I think that's a fair way of putting it.
Thank you. I can see that Karen's joined, Karen Cheney, who heads up the NDSU, Neighbourhood Development Support Unit. I didn't know if Karen, did you want to say anything about the white paper and the council's commitment to working with neighbourhood councils?
No, you're okay, Claire.
Okay.
You're all doing a grand job. I just came on to listen to see
okay.
What people the reaction is, but I think my response to John is there is a very firm commitment within the council and the white paper that Tony's just mentioned, that this is one of the ways that local people can work together to improve their own neighbourhood. It's one of the mechanisms, and we are supporting that process. It's not the only one, but it is one of the important ones that we want to pursue. So there are two that were almost pre-existing before the white paper, which Tony's outlined. So Balsall Heath will be the first one that goes through, if it does go through, as part of the white paper. So it's really important we get it right. So that's why quite a lot of time is being spent in dialogue with you all. You know, have we missed anything out? Is it the right information, etc.? Because we want to learn from this as well. But no, I think that's it from me, Claire. I thought I'd snuck in without anybody noticing that I was there.
You put the link in the chat that I noticed. So yeah, and also just to thanks, Karen, just to say we'll make sure Kay sends the link or the paper to anybody who's interested in reading the white paper, which sets out localism and the City Council's approach to that, the working together in Birmingham neighbourhoods that Karen was just talking about. I know Habib wants to ask a question. I don't know if John, that's an old hand, or if you've got another question, but I'll go to Habib first. Okay.
Yeah, just a quick question based on precedent of previous parish councils. Say, for example, we were successful and we did become a neighbourhood council, parish council. And if it really goes wrong in the future and people revolt against it, is there a way to rescind it? So, you know, can you cancel it, in other words, if it doesn't quite work out?
Tony, can you
Yes, basically we would conduct another community governance review, this time with the question, you know, should the council be abolished or its boundary changed or any other change that people want to make in future years. And people can petition for those sort of changes as well at any time in the future. So it's certainly not irrevocable.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody got any more questions that they'd like to ask? If a question occurs to you after the meeting, that's absolutely fine. So the information that we've given you about how to contact us and so on, which again Kay can circulate, and we'll put some links in the chat as well. Essentially, as I say, you can email us, phone us, send a letter to us by post. There's different ways you can actually ask us questions as well as actually have your say. And if you want to check the website out, Birmingham City Council website, we're putting information on there. There's already a lot of information on there which tells you what the Community Governance Review is. There's terms of reference for the Community Governance Review. That's all there, so you can have a look through. It's actually very clear in terms of a document to read, and it explains how that works, but also information about neighbourhood councils, parish councils, and so on. So I just encourage you to have a look at that, including the map of the proposed area. So if you have a look at that, that hopefully will give you a lot of really useful information, and we'll continue to put information out as well. Sorry, I can see Dee's put a comment there. Dee, did you want to actually say anything about that too, or just to have the comment in the chat?
No, I'm just I fundamentally disagree with contributing to new projects, because I just think, you know, without having to do a freedom of information request to say how much money is being wasted on removing fly tipping, graffiti, etc. over the last 9 years, and not learning or changing anything, but just doing the same, just let's go there next week and pick it up and move it, let somebody else put it there. I don't really see how there's going to be a major change when you're expecting local people to be sort of making decisions, etc., when people who are paid in full-time jobs can't make a difference or have an impact that is sustainable. It might last a week, it might last 2 days cleaning up a road, but over 9 years I haven't seen anything. And I don't think paying £1 a week to my local layer of governance, having an extra layer in and making us accountable for our own actions, is going to change it. And I just wanted to air that I fundamentally disagree when I don't know what the stats are, what the figures are. I've been asking, so I have to now put a freedom of information request in to say how much does it cost to clean that corner over the last 9 years? How else could have we spent that money? Could we have improved the lighting? Could we have done some more enforcement? As Habib was saying, we need to send out a clear message. Why are we trying to add on something else when we haven't addressed the fundamental issues that we've got in hand?
Thank you, Dee. Did anybody want to respond to that, or any more comments? Okay, I can't see. Oh, sorry, Ted.
I think we've got to get something clear. This isn't actually setting up a new project, first of all. This is a group of local people who are saying, through a different form of funding, we are setting up a smaller but locally focused, and it is the lowest form of local authority. And it is also one of the sort of, you know, as Karen said, it's about local people taking responsibility. We're not going to be doing removal of graffiti. We won't have that income to be doing it. So the council will still be doing that, but also then potentially working with the parish council to turn around and say, look, there is that problem in that corner. How can we resolve that? Because you've then got X number of parish councillors who are being backed by or being pushed by local people to actually do something about it. So you're moving the responsibility further on them into the community, but you're giving them a governance structure within which to do that. So it's not like we're setting up a new voluntary organisation within the area. This is not, you know, a replacement for X, Y, Z. It's not. This is not, you know, a brand new project and an idea of the city council, because this has actually come from people who live and work within the Balsall Heath area, saying what we want is, you know, this way of doing it. You've got the precept, which gives us money which we can only spend in our area, and it doesn't give us a lot of money, but it gives us money. But it also then gives us a platform with which to talk to the local council on the services that they provide in the area. How can we complement them? But how can we work with our residents to turn around and say, you've got to do it this way?
Thank you, Ted. I can see that Carmen's wanting to ask a question as well. I'm conscious that we've gone over our allotted.
I know. I'm conscious of that.
Is that all right, Councillor Hussain?
If you want to hear me, it's okay. If not, then that's okay too. It's entirely up to you guys if you want to end the meeting.
Councillor Hussain, is it okay to take
Yeah,
Councillor?
fine, you can carry on,
Carmen.
Carmen.
I'm just with the, if we haven't learned from the last 9 years or the last 30 odd years that I've been here, what is this new group going to bring about? There is still going to be that corner that people are still going to be dumping. So there is still the local residents in the area who care and do things within the area, within their own little dimensions. And it doesn't go anywhere. So what's this new group going to bring to the table? Because there are people within our areas now that care and who I on a regular basis, I live opposite Farm Park, and I've got people who pull up in their cars and go over and dump their bread in the middle of the park. And they actually drive there, and I myself and a couple of my neighbours go over and tell them, no, this isn't acceptable. So this is what we do as a little bit. So as far as that corner getting fly tipped every single week or every single day, what is a new group going to bring to the table to stop this? That's all I'm basically asking. What is the different light they're going to shed on the whole rubbish situation within Balsall Heath and Sparkbrook?
Claire, Tony, do you want to just say your final comments, and then I just need to do a quick update?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. I will say something quickly about the questions that have just been asked about what can be added by a neighbourhood council, because I think the important thing to remember is that the City Council and those of us that work for it serve a city of nearly 1.2 million people. It's a vast area. And with the best will in the world, we are very remote from local neighbourhoods. If you set up a neighbourhood council, you'll be electing people who only represent that area. In fact, they'll be representing a few streets if that's the way that we, end up deciding to organise it. That means they'll be much more closely connected and in conversation with people, and obviously our local councillors, including those here now, do their best to always stay in touch with their ward, but they have a whole ward to deal with. And they also have responsibilities, for the rest of the city when they sit in the city council chamber or in the cabinet or other jobs that they might get. So I think the whole benefit of having a neighbourhood council is that it's a purely local focus right down into that neighbourhood. So it might come up with all sorts of initiatives, perhaps about educating people, some of the points you've made about educating people about fly tipping and so on, which we just couldn't do from the point of view of the whole city, but you might be able to get on with in the local area and make a difference. So I think we shouldn't sort of diminish the potential for some elected local councillors with a small budget to do some exciting different things that we may not have even heard of or thought of at this stage. So I'll finish there. Hopefully that's a positive point to finish on. Don't know if you want to add anything, Claire.
Claire, I was just going to say, Claire.
No, Tony, I think that's fine. But thank you to everybody for listening and for your contribution. And it'd be good to kind of keep this discussion going and so people can explore it and work out what you think about it.
Yes,
thank you.
Sorry, I did give you guys extra airtime because I think it's quite important for people and residents to know this is something new, something exciting that's going to happen. And we welcome all your comments and your feedback. So thank you. Kay will be sending all the links and the maps and how to get in touch on BHead if you've not used BHead. Like Claire's already said, there's phone numbers. So there are all sorts of conversations, all sorts of different ways you can have a communication with the teams. If you've got any issues or concerns you want to raise, let them know. So yes, thank you ever so much. I do apologise, we've gone slightly over, but I only have a couple of updates that I want to let everyone know. So couple of points I just want to let everyone know is Ladypool Road cycling. I know we've been having some issues with that, but now work has actually commenced on Ladypool Road, so it's going to be segregated bike lane. So that's going to take, and that will be for 3 weeks. So hopefully that will be done. There's going to refurbish at the pedestrian crossing on Alder Road Junction, and they're going to be changing some of the loading and unloading bay. The other point I want to make out is we do have our mobile recycling centre coming to Sparkbrook and Balsall Heath. This is going to come on the 22nd of February at 7 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock at noon, and that's going to be on Albion Road. That's B11 2NR. Something else I want to talk about. I know Habib mentioned about car parks. I've also been in touch with our car parks because we've had a lot of issues with our car parks, and the local engineering team will be, they say they will, if they've got any issues, they will clean the car park up. So they're monitoring the car park. And also, I'm not sure if anybody's noticed, I am going to go and do a site visit, but St. Paul's car park has actually had some work done to it, and it's been installed with electrical charging points. Work started on the 9th of February, so I haven't actually had a chance to go down this week, so I will be popping down. So if anybody's seen it or noticed it, if you've walked past St. Paul's car park, let me know. And I know we've also talked about Commonwealth Games. We've already had our first round. Second round will be taking place very soon, probably end of February or first week in March. There are 9 applications that need to be considered for the round 2. We still have £49,322 left. And another thing is the police have been in touch, not with our Wartaski means, but they have been in touch with a survey that they want Sparkbrook and Balsall Heath residents to fill in. They're going to be leaving the survey at the doctor's surgery on Sparkbrook at the health centre, and Kay will be sending that out. So that's a few things. And the other point I do want to make out is I'm still holding my advice surgery, which is face-to-face, and the first Friday and the third Friday every month. So just have a look on the website if you've got any issues with that. Carmen, you've got your, sorry, I have to, I'm really sorry.
No problem. Just a quick question. Are we doing anything in Sparkbrook for the Queen's Jubilee?
There is funding applications forms have gone out. I have sent them out to some of the community groups. Carmen, if you want me to send it to you.
Please, if you don't mind.
I don't think I've got your email address, Carmel. So if
I'll send it to you.
All right, okay, that's fine.
Okay,
yeah.
then, thank you.
Yeah. We have got something in place at Farm Park for the Commonwealth Games, but you'll probably know a bit more. I think that was the first round of the funding. I'm not sure what the next ones are going to be, so you'll soon find out about them. But we will give you an update. We will, Kay will send you an invite when we're going to be doing the second round of funding. So I want you all to attend and participate in the second round of funding. I'm not sure if there is anything else anybody needs to ask or relays. Next meeting is probably going to be after the elections, and hopefully that will be a face-to-face meeting. Councillor Z, do you want to say anything in your update?
Thank you very much, Chair. I quite agree what you already explained everything about the board, and I think everybody knows these things. And I totally, that's what you said. I think we are following these things, and we are trying our best to make this area best of all us. And I think there is a big issue still there about the rubbish, and I don't know, some people are saying they are looking at it more than 10 years, but we are trying our best, and I think myself, most of the people, they don't live in this area. They come from outside. When they finish work from outside in the restaurants or where they are, and they bring their rubbish and still, in our street, they dump in there. I think most of I notice myself as well. And there are some hard places as well. And we should to be, if there is camera comes in here, I can mention about the Taunton Road and Rushman Road. That know this thing, that is always there is no any day I have seen that is clear. We clear this one today, you will see that will be dumped tomorrow early in the morning. So I think I am much worried, still worried about this one. and we're trying our best. But if the community cooperate with us, and as already mentioned about the religious places, schools, and they can play a very crucial role in this one. And I think they should to cooperate with us, and we should to make our area neat and clean. That's my message to everyone, please. Thanks.
Thank you, Carmen. Very quickly.
Sorry, Shabrana, just wanted to raise an issue within the community. I have raised it with the police, but they don't seem to be getting anywhere with it. On Dinman Road at the corner, we do have a group of users, drug users, who wait for their drugs every time the kids seem to be going to school. Now, I have raised it with the police, and they said it's gone further or whatever. They just palm me off with an excuse. But it isn't for...
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you want to just send me a quick email and have a look at it?
I will do.
And I'll send you the application for the Queen's Jubilee. I think
thank you so much.
It is the 28th, so we need to get a wiggle on.
Yeah, I need to get a wiggle on. Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm sorry to go on.
Right, okay. Thank you everybody for attending, and I will see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.